U.S. political parties were formed because there was a struggle over the Constitution of 1787. Political parties were formed, and they greatly differed on opinions on how strong the federal government should be. Polarization of these political parties was largely due to senators who were in opposition or support of the foreign relation policies with Great Britain and France, and also the ideas of George Washington and John Adams. George Washington was an independent for the most part, and John Adams was a Federalist. Party and electorate consider themselves to be in a specific party and will vote for candidates that best align with their party. They will criticize the words of party and government. Party and government seek to gain votes of party and electorate. They will do this by maintaining promises and achieving policy goals. Some examples of party and government are state legislators, presidential candidates, and paid government officials. In divided government, anything that is proposed to be written into law must have support of both parties. It does not matter if it's the president or Congress that initiates, it must have support of both parties in order for it to become law. This creates a problem sometimes because it takes a very long time to pass important laws. The plus side of this is that not one party can pass extreme legislation without being first checked by the other. This is good in the way that it forms a system of checks and balances, but another negative is that sometimes they can never come to conclusions on important topics, which makes a stalemate or shutdown. Many states have similarities in their voting systems, for example, in that they require residents to register to vote. North Dakota, however, is the only state that does not require this. Some states offer same-day registration. This allows the voter to register the same day they arrive at the polls. Some 22 states allow this type of voting. Registering to vote in most states can now be done online, yet there are about 8 states that still require pamphlets to be filled out through mail or in person. Some states that accept mail-in voting in one form or another by circumstance. This is determined by each state and depends on the individual and circumstances of the person voting. Voter turnout can be caused by a number of reasons. There are some who join office and are just not popular with the people and do a poor job of campaigning and rallying for voters. Lack of voter education can cause low voter turnout. Historically, those with higher income are much more likely to show up to the polls than low income. Lastly, as you may know, older voters are more likely to turn out to the polls than younger, newer voters. Lack of voter registration turnout can be minimized by proper education, better campaigning, and overall sharing with our fellow citizens that we need to vote. Primary election, the strategy is a little different because you are running against an opponent from the same party. Usually less differences between opponent members on policy decisions. Those who campaign usually like to emphasize why they are the better candidate or stronger than the other person on the similar or same policies. General election, the candidates are running against an opponent from the opposing party. This is when there are more differing ideas and policies that each individual candidate tries to convince the voters of. Each candidate is now trying to get elected and win the election. Lots of mudslinging and undermining is done in a general election as opposed to much less in a primary election.